All right, speed, speed, speed. Hi, Andre. My mic. Sorry, that was probably really loud. Please bring lighting for amateur professionals. When it comes to lighting, when it comes to cinematography, and lighting in Hollywood, there is one thing I think mutually done across the board that sets Hollywood films apart from indie stuff. It's so easy as a beginner to just place a light in the direction that you think you want it and just hope it looks good, and then look at the monitor and be like, wow, this looks like shit, I suck. It happened to me a lot, and it still does happen to me, but it doesn't matter. Placing your light down in that one direction is honestly just the beginning. It's just skimming the surface, and there's one thing that everybody does in filmmaking that we're gonna learn right now that brings your lighting from indie to professional in that Hollywood look, and that is controlling your light. Controlling your lighting gives your films that very nice, beautiful, cinematic, polished look. If I didn't control my lighting in this scene right now, it would look like this. This is with all of my lighting control, my grids, my barn doors, all of that gone. But obviously we don't want that because that looks terrible. So I want to introduce what scene we're in. I just put together a quick scene in my house right now. And I want to introduce to you what the lights we used and then how we controlled it, what we actually did to control the lights. And one thing I want to have in mind as we're going through this is rather than adding light to this scene, think about it in a mindset of almost we're adding shadows and keeping shadows and maintaining shadows and creating these pools of light. And I think that's going to make a lot of sense and go a long way when I start to break down controlling lights and why I'm doing so. Why are you looking at me? Something happened? Or am I just attractive? So the key light that's lighting me, the light that's actually illuminating my face, is this guy here. It's an Aputure 600C Pro. And then I've got a Light Dome 3 on this. This is just your basic softbox. I've got this on here for speed and ease of use. But this guy right here is gonna be the most important for controlling your light. It's an egg crate, a honeycomb, a grid. It's got a lot of different names to it. But you can see that as I turn across, you can see the softbox. It's really bright. And then it's controlling it and you can probably almost see nothing. So that's really controlling where your light spill is going. When I take it off, now it's spilling a lot more my way. And just for reference, we've got this set to, let's find out. We've got this set to 4,000 Kelvin and we got my camera set to 4,000 Kelvin as well. Don't forget that. I'll almost always try my best to grid my key light just to maintain the contrast in the rest of the scene. But let's go check out some of the other lights that we've got going on as well. So on to our second light here. If you're familiar with the 3-point lighting setup, that's kind of really what I'm following right here. We had the key light, now I'm going to the edge light or the rim light. We're rocking with an Amaran 300C and we've got this at 5,600 Kelvin right now, but we're gonna see something that might be very familiar to you. As I turn it, check it out, we can see the light, we cannot see the light. That's because in here we've got a grid as well. That's just this same old thing in a metal hard form that we had on the key light over there. But additionally with that, I've got barn doors. So these barn doors are gonna say it's spilling right here and kind of pinging the lens. I'm gonna use this barn door. Look at that, there we go. I'm just gonna close that up and then control exactly where we want it. We don't want it to spill that way. Well, it's not going to because we're controlling it. So barn doors are gonna be great for your hard light sources just to cut this beam as well. It makes it a little bit easier to control when your lights are harder. When they're big and soft, it's a lot more difficult to control. This is just one more kicker light. I had this one to a 3,200 Kelvin, and what we're working with here, I just wanted like a warmer kick. This is an Aputure MC Pro. This is super portable for hair lights, but again, you're seeing the same pattern. We've got one more honeycomb on that. I was just trying to control every single light source that I had. So same thing, you can see into it, now you can't. Some of the other lights that we added here, we've got in here, this is just an Aputure B7C bulb, and I've got that to a 3,200 Kelvin as well. Stay, stay, stay. And then right there is an Aputure B7. Continuity, son, do you not know anything about continuity? And then here we've got an Aputure B7C bulb as well in this lamp. And then this is just the Amaran SM5Cs that I had laying around, and we just did this for our home decorations. With lighting, I've really learned that it's important to be intentional with where you want the light to place, where you want it to fall in the scene, where you want it to fall on your subject. And if you just throw a light in the corner, it's gonna fall, yes, where you want it to, but it's also going to fall in a million other places. So that's why it's important to just take your light source, modify it how you need to, say you wanna soften it, and then control it and bring it exactly to where you want, and also not bring it to where you don't want it. You don't wanna bring light, that made no sense. Modify your light however you want, soften your source, and then bring the light to where you want it, but also keep the light away from where you don't want it. And that's exactly what I'm doing in this scene. I'm doing a night scene right now because it really does show an exaggerated effect. There's no light sources, it's dark everywhere else. This is literally what it would look like without any of the lights on. I've got it in Sidus Link on my phone right now. If you don't know Sidus Link, you can control all your light source just on that. It's pretty, comes in handy, honestly. I'm getting distracted. And whenever I'm lighting a scene, I want to be mindful of the shadows. I want to make sure that I'm still getting shadow area because shadows create contrast, and contrast essentially creates a beautiful image. So by having light spilling everywhere throughout the scene, everywhere throughout the room, you're gonna lose the shadows. Light's gonna bounce into your shadows and brighten those up and lift those up, maybe in places where you don't want to. So that's when lighting control really comes into play. So when you're on set lighting something, whether you're a beginner or you've been doing this for a while, it's very helpful to have the reminder. Be mindful of where you want your lights, but also being intentional of where you want it to be and how you want that shadow area to look in whatever the scene is, if that makes sense. So just ask yourself, would putting a grid on this be essential? Would flagging it off the wall be beneficial? Would it look more contrasty in a way that I like if I just flagged it or controlled it with an egg crate or whatever? But that's all. It's a small tip, but a very, very important tip when it comes to lighting and bringing your lighting and cinematography from, you know, an indie beginner type of look to this polished off Hollywood filmmaking look. And that to me goes a million miles. What's the saying? It goes a long way. Yeah, goes a long way. I'm not good with sayings, all right? I dropped out of college. That's all, guys. I love you and I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.